Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the Lunar Defense Station, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the unusual signal pattern detected near Jupiter's orbit. After 20 years of heading Earth's Space Defense Initiative, she had learned to trust her instincts. This signal was different from the usual cosmic background noise. It was deliberate, structured, and most importantly, getting stronger. "Admiral, we've completed the signal analysis," Lieutenant James Rodriguez reported, his dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of his tablet. "It's definitely artificial, using quantum frequency modulation we've never seen before. But here's the interesting part. We can decode it." Chen raised an eyebrow. "They want us to understand them." "Yes, Mom. And based on the signal strength, they'll be within visual range in approximately 6 hours." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Earth's defense fleet, consisting of 12 ships that most of humanity believed were simply research vessels, moved into defensive positions. The public knew nothing about the quantum shielding or the experimental weapons these ships carried. As far as the world was concerned, humanity was still testing its first interplanetary engines. The alien ship appeared exactly when predicted. A massive vessel that dwarfed Earth's largest ships. Its surface seemed to ripple like liquid metal, covered in patterns that pulsed with internal light. As it approached, 3 smaller ships emerged from its sides, taking flanking positions. "They're broadcasting," Rodriguez announced. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a tall, serpentine figure with iridescent scales and multiple sets of eyes arranged in a circular pattern around its elongated head. "Greetings, creatures of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English, its voice resonating with an artificial harmonic. "I am Supreme Commander Vexthor of the Xeraxian Empire. We have been monitoring your development for some time, and have decided to expedite your species' integration into the galactic community." Chen noticed the careful choice of words. Not invite or welcome, but integrate. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth's Space Defense Initiative. We appreciate your interest in our world, Supreme Commander." The alien's eyes shifted in what might have been amusement. "How diplomatic. But let us dispense with pleasantries. Your species has shown remarkable progress in certain areas, but you remain primitive in the ways that matter. We have come to offer you a choice: accept our guidance and protection, or face immediate quarantine." Chen's expression remained neutral, even as her mind raced through the implications. "Could you clarify what you mean by quarantine?" "Supreme Commander, a simple procedure. We will establish a containment field around your solar system, preventing any unauthorized travel beyond Mars' orbit. This is for your own protection, of course. Your species is not yet ready for the dangers of deep space." Behind Chen, the bridge crew maintained their professional composure, but she could feel their tension. Humanity had already established several classified bases beyond Mars, including the quantum communications relay near Europa. If the Xeraxians established their containment field, those bases would be cut off. "And if we accept your guidance?" Chen asked. "We will begin by upgrading your primitive defense systems. Your current ships," Vexthor's tone carried what seemed to be pity, "would not last a moment against even the weakest pirate raiders. We will also establish a permanent advisory presence on your world to oversee your technological and social development." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "That's a generous offer, Supreme Commander. However, I believe there may be some misunderstandings about our current capabilities." "Oh." Multiple eyes blinked in sequence. "Your most advanced ships still rely on chemical propulsion for main thrust. Your communication systems use primitive radio waves. Your weapons are based on kinetic projectiles. What misunderstanding could there be?" "Perhaps," Chen suggested, "we could demonstrate." Before Vexthor could respond, Chen nodded to Rodriguez. Instantly, 6 more Earth ships dropped their quantum masking fields, appearing seemingly out of nowhere in a perfect hexagonal formation around the Xeraxian vessels. "Impossible." Vexthor's scales flickered with patterns of agitation. "Our sensors detected no other ships in the system." As I said, Chen replied calmly, there seem to be some misunderstandings about our capabilities. Now, shall we discuss real diplomatic relations between equals, or would you prefer a more practical demonstration of humanity's readiness for the galactic community? The silence that followed was broken only by the soft hum of the station's systems. Chen could see the conflict in Vexthor's alien features, the shock of discovering that a supposedly primitive species had developed stealth technology that could fool their advanced sensors, balanced against the pride of an empire that spanned hundreds of worlds. You deceived us, Vexthor finally said. We protected ourselves, Chen corrected. Something any species worthy of joining the galactic community should be capable of doing. Now shall we start over? As equals. The next few moments would determine whether humanity's first official contact with an alien civilization would end in peaceful dialogue or conflict. Chen maintained her calm demeanor, but every muscle was tensed, ready to give the order that would activate the quantum torpedoes locked onto each Zeraxian vessel. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and Chen couldn't help but wonder if perhaps humanity's greatest first contact mistake would be revealing just how advanced they really were. The next 48 hours aboard the Lunar Defense Station became a delicate dance of diplomacy and deterrence. Admiral Chen had moved the negotiations to the station's quantum-shielded conference room, where holographic representations of both human and Zeraxian officials gathered to discuss their civilization's future relationship. Explain how you achieved quantum masking technology, demanded Science Director Kexley, the Zeraxian expert whose multiple eyes hadn't stopped analyzing every visible piece of human technology since their arrival. Our records show your species was still struggling with basic fusion containment mere decades ago. Dr. Maya Patel, Earth's lead quantum physicist, smiled as she manipulated a holographic display. Perhaps that's because you were only watching our public scientific developments. Tell me, Director, what would your empire have done if we had broadcast our breakthroughs in quantum mechanics across the galaxy? The alien scales rippled in what humans had learned to recognize as discomfort. The answer was obvious. The Zeraxian Empire had a long history of protecting developing civilizations by subjugating them before they could become potential rivals. In the station's command center, Lieutenant Rodriguez monitored the increasingly complex sensor data from the Zeraxian fleet. More ships had arrived, maintaining position just beyond Jupiter's orbit. Admiral, they're scanning us with everything they've got, trying to pierce our quantum masking. Let them try, Chen replied, studying the tactical display. Dr. Patel's quantum interference field is giving them exactly what they expect to see, an emerging civilization barely capable of interplanetary travel. The true extent of humanity's deception went far deeper than the Zeraxians suspected. While they focused their scans on Earth's visible fleet, the CSS Nightshade, humanity's first stealth carrier, was already moving into position, hidden beneath layers of quantum fields that bent both light and gravity around its hull. The massive ship carried within it humanity's insurance policy against alien aggression. Captain Maya Rodriguez, James's sister, stood on the Nightshade's bridge, watching her crew prepare for what might become humanity's first interstellar combat operation. The ship's quantum core hummed beneath her feet, powering systems that most of humanity didn't know existed. Status report, she commanded. All systems nominal, Captain. Her XO, Commander David Chen, the Admiral's son, responded. Quantum masking holding steady at 99.97% efficiency. The Zeraxians have no idea we're here. The Nightshade represented everything humanity had learned since detecting the first alien signals 50 years ago. While publicly struggling with basic spaceflight, Earth's combined military and scientific communities had secretly prepared for this inevitable moment of first contact. Back in the conference room, Supreme Commander Vexthor was losing patience. You still haven't explained why you maintain this deception. If you are as advanced as you claim, why hide? Admiral Chen's response was measured. Consider how your empire typically responds to emerging civilizations that show too much promise. We've intercepted enough of your communications over the years to understand your standard procedures. The revelation that humans had been decoding Xeraxian transmissions sent another wave of shock through the alien delegation. Their encryption was supposed to be unbreakable. Impossible, Kexley declared. Your quantum technology cannot be that advanced. We would have detected. A sudden alarm cut through the conference room. On every screen, sensor readings exploded with new data as the Xeraxian reinforcement fleet made its move. Dozens of ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, weapons charge. A convenient timing for reinforcements, Shen observed coldly, even as she received a secure quantum transmission from the Nightshade. In position, awaiting orders. Vexthor's scales now pulsed with patterns of aggression. You leave us no choice, Admiral. Your species has proven itself too dangerous to be allowed unrestricted development. The containment field will be established immediately. I was afraid you might see it that way, Chen replied, sending a single quantum-encrypted command to all Earth forces. Execute Silent Thunder. Across the solar system, humanity's hidden fleet prepared to demonstrate just how fatal the Xeraxians' assumption of superiority would prove to be. The CSS Nightshade, still invisible to alien sensors, activated its primary weapons array. The real battle for Earth's independence was about to begin, and humanity's silent strategy was about to shake the foundations of an empire that spanned the stars. Supreme Commander Vexthor's confidence evaporated as chaos erupted across the Xeraxian fleet. Ship after ship reported critical system failures as invisible quantum pulses shattered their supposedly impenetrable shields. The CSS Nightshade struck like a ghost, its attacks seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Impossible, Kexley screamed, watching the tactical display in horror. Their weapons, they're using our own shield frequencies against us. Admiral Chen stood calmly, hands clasped behind her back. For decades, your ships have been broadcasting shield harmonics across quantum channels you thought were secure. Every transmission, every routine status report, gave us another piece of the puzzle. On the bridge of the Nightshade, Captain Maya Rodriguez orchestrated humanity's counterattack with surgical precision. Her ship's quantum processors had spent years analyzing Xeraxian defense patterns, finding weaknesses in their seemingly perfect formations. Target their command and control nodes, she ordered. Let's show them why centralized combat networks are a liability, not a strength. The Nightshade's quantum torpedoes phased through Xeraxian shields as if they weren't there, materializing inside their ship's defensive perimeters. Each detonation released precisely calibrated interference patterns, turning the aliens' own technology against them. Commander David Chen monitored the battle damage assessment. Their ships are losing cohesion. Without the central command network, they can't coordinate their defenses. This was humanity's true advantage, not just advanced technology, but a fundamental difference in thinking. While the Xeraxians relied on rigid hierarchies and centralized control, Earth's forces operated with tactical independence, each ship capable of making decisions on its own. In the conference room, Vexthor watched his mighty fleet fall into disarray. Stop this. You cannot comprehend the forces you're dealing with. On the contrary, Admiral Chen replied, we comprehend them far better than you do. Your empire's greatest weakness isn't technological, it's philosophical. You've become so dependent on absolute control that you've forgotten how to adapt. The Nightshade's attacks had precisely targeted the Xeraxian command and control systems, severing the links that bound their fleet together. Without central coordination, each alien ship fell back on outdated protocols, attempting to establish a containment formation that now played directly into humanity's hands. Captain Rodriguez recognized the pattern. They're trying to regroup into a standard containment sphere, exactly as the simulations predicted. She turned to her tactical officer. Execute Pattern Omega. Let's show them why predictability in combat is fatal. Earth's visible fleet suddenly broke formation, each ship seemingly moving at random. The Xeraxians, trained to expect coordinated attacks, found their targeting systems confused by the chaos. Meanwhile, The nightshade struck again and again, its quantum-masked fighters slipping through the gaps in the alien formation. "Admiral," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his station, "the Ziraxian fleet is losing combat effectiveness at a rate of 15% per minute. Their attempts to establish the containment field have failed." Chen nodded, turning to face Vexthor. "Your empire has spent centuries perfecting the art of overwhelming force against weaker opponents, but you never considered what might happen when you encountered a species that had been quietly watching, learning, and preparing." The Supreme Commander's scales had lost their luster, taking on the pale color of defeat. How did we not see this coming?" "Because you saw exactly what we wanted you to see," Chen explained. "A young species struggling with basic technology, broadcasting our failures and setbacks across every channel you monitored. While your empire's attention was focused on our public space program, our real advances remained hidden in plain sight." Outside, the battle was reaching its climax. The Nightshade's quantum attacks had reduced the mighty Ziraxian fleet to a scattered collection of ships, each trying to survive on its own. The very technology they had relied upon to maintain control of their empire had become their greatest vulnerability. Commander Chen's voice carried a note of pride as he reported, "The enemy fleet is in full retreat. Quantum tracking shows them preparing for emergency FTL jumps." Captain Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. "Let them go. They'll carry word back to their empire about what happens when you underestimate humanity." In the conference room, Admiral Chen faced the defeated Ziraxian delegation. "Now, shall we discuss terms? Real terms this time, between equals who understand each other's true capabilities." The battle for Earth's independence had been won not through brute force, but through years of patient preparation and the careful exploitation of an empire's blind spots. Humanity had turned the tide not just in this battle, but in the balance of power across known space. The aftermath of the battle brought a transformation nobody had expected, least of all the Ziraxians. As their surviving ships limped away from Earth's solar system, the true impact of humanity's victory began to ripple across the galaxy. The quantum communication networks that formed the backbone of the Ziraxian Empire had become their undoing. Dr. Maya Patel stood before a holographic display in the Lunar Defense Station's quantum lab, explaining the cascade effect to Admiral Chen and the remaining Ziraxian diplomats. "Your entire empire relies on quantum-entangled networks for faster-than-light communication, but those same networks carry our virus straight to your core worlds." Science Director Kexley's scales shifted between patterns of horror and fascination. "The battle, it wasn't just about defeating our fleet." "No," Chen confirmed. "It was about accessing your network. Every quantum torpedo that struck your ships carried a payload far more dangerous than explosive force. It carried information." On screens throughout the station, reports flooded in from across Ziraxian space. The Empire's carefully maintained hierarchy was collapsing as its communication network transformed from a tool of control into a weapon of liberation. The virus didn't destroy, it revealed. Captain Rodriguez, aboard the Nightshade, monitored the cascade of data. "The virus is working exactly as designed. It's exposing centuries of imperial secrets to every world in their empire. Hidden histories of subjugated species, suppressed technological innovations, and the true nature of the Empire's protection spread from world to world at quantum speed. The Ziraxians had built their empire on absolute control of information, and now that control was shattered. You don't understand what you've done," Supreme Commander Vexthor said, his voice carrying genuine fear. "The stability of 1,000 worlds depends on the network." "No," Admiral Chen corrected. "It depends on lies. We gave your subjects access to the truth. What they do with it is their choice." Reports continued to pour in. On dozens of worlds, populations that had lived under Ziraxian guidance for generations were rising up. The Empire's carefully maintained illusion of technological superiority had been exposed as a fraud. They had been suppressing innovation, not nurturing it. Commander David Chen analyzed the incoming data. The pattern is spreading faster than we predicted. 97% of Xeraxian-controlled worlds have already received the full data package. Their attempts to contain it are actually accelerating the spread. In the quantum lab, Dr. Patel manipulated the holographic display to show the network's transformation. Your empire's greatest strength became its fatal flaw. By centralizing everything, by controlling every quantum channel, you created a perfect delivery system for our virus. But why? Kexley demanded. Why not simply destroy our fleet and be done with it? Admiral Chen's response was measured. Because humanity has learned from its own history, empires built on suppression and control eventually fall. We simply accelerated the process. The Nightshade sensors detected more quantum fluctuations as ships across Xeraxian space broke formation, no longer bound by the Empire's rigid protocols. Some fled, others turned against their former masters, and many simply stopped responding to Imperial commands. The network is experiencing total cascading failure, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. Their entire command structure is disintegrating. On the quantum screens, the map of Xeraxian space transformed. What had been a solid empire fragmented into countless independent regions as local governments, freed from central control, began making their own decisions. Supreme Commander Vexthor watched his life's work dissolve. Generations of order and progress, undone in hours. Not undone, Chen corrected. Transformed. Every world in your empire now has access to all the knowledge and technology you've been suppressing. What they build with that freedom will be their choice. Dr. Patel's holographic display showed the final stages of the network's transformation. The quantum links aren't being destroyed. They're being reprogrammed. Instead of a tool for control, they're becoming a medium for free communication between worlds. The fall of the network marked not just the end of an empire, but the beginning of something new. Humanity had proven itself not just capable of defending Earth, but of reshaping the political landscape of known space. The question now was, what would rise from the ashes of the Xeraxian Empire's control? 3 months after the fall of the Xeraxian network, the Lunar Defense Station hosted a gathering unprecedented in human history. Representatives from 20 formerly subjugated species joined Earth's leaders to discuss the future of interstellar relations. The station's main conference chamber, originally designed for war planning, had become a forum for peace. Admiral Chen surveyed the diverse assembly. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions, each with their own story of liberation. Among them sat former Supreme Commander Vexthor, now serving as a representative of the reformed Xeraxian worlds. The irony, Vexthor noted, his scales now showing patterns of acceptance, is that we sought to prevent exactly this scenario. We feared that allowing species to develop independently would lead to chaos and conflict. Instead, it led to this. Chen finished, gesturing at the gathering. On the main display, images showed the transformation sweeping across known space. Former Xeraxian worlds were establishing new trade routes, sharing technology, and forming alliances based on mutual benefit rather than force. The CSS Nightshade, now a symbol of the revolution, had been repurposed as a diplomatic vessel. Captain Rodriguez used its quantum masking technology to protect the growing network of independent worlds from those who would restore the old order. The latest reports are encouraging, she announced to the assembly. The quantum network has been fully reconstructed. All participating worlds now have equal access and control. No single species can dominate it again. Dr. Patel, working with scientists from a dozen worlds, had helped create something new. A truly democratic quantum communication system. The network now belongs to everyone, she explained. Each world maintains its own nodes, but all share in its benefits. Commander David Chen presented the security briefing. We've detected several attempts by Imperial loyalists to restore central control. Each has failed because the network now operates on principles they don't understand: trust and cooperation. The gathered representatives discussed the challenges ahead. Some worlds, long dependent on imperial guidance, struggled with their new freedom. Others faced internal conflicts as they debated their future path. But all agreed on one crucial point. The old way of empire and control was finished. What humanity showed us, a crystalline being from the Rigel system observed, was not just technological advancement, but a different way of thinking. You proved that strength comes from diversity, not uniformity. Admiral Chen stood to address the assembly. When the Ziraxians first arrived at Earth, they saw what they expected to see, a young species they could control. They never understood that humanity's greatest power isn't in our weapons or our technology, but in our ability to learn, adapt, and work together. The gathering marked the beginning of something unprecedented. A cooperative of independent worlds, each contributing its unique perspectives and abilities. The quantum network, once a tool of oppression, had become the foundation of a new interstellar community. Vexthor, watching his former subjects interact as equals, finally understood. We sought to impose order through control, but you showed us a better way, unity through diversity. The very chaos we feared has become a source of strength. As the conference concluded, ships from dozens of worlds gathered around Earth's orbit, their crews celebrating not just the fall of an empire, but the birth of a new era. The CSS Nightshade led them in a display of lights that could be seen from Earth's surface, a reminder to humanity that they were no longer alone in the universe. Admiral Chen stood at her familiar spot on the observation deck, watching the multispecies fleet. Lieutenant Rodriguez joined her, carrying final reports from across known space. Was it worth the risk? He asked, revealing our true capabilities, changing the balance of power. Chen smiled, thinking of the long years of preparation, the careful planning, and the bold gamble that had paid off beyond their wildest expectations. Look out there, she said, gesturing to the gathered ships. We didn't just win our independence. We helped forge something entirely new. A future where species work together, not because they're forced to, but because they choose to. The stars seemed brighter somehow, filled with new possibilities. Humanity had not just survived its first contact with an interstellar empire. It had transformed the very nature of interstellar civilization. As ships from Earth ventured out into known space, they carried with them not weapons of war, but the most powerful force in the universe. The idea that true strength comes not from domination, but from unity.